Okay, guys, so good morning. Hope you've had a good weekend and you're ready to start the week, ready on a positive note, on the front foot, refocus now. Obviously, you play on the weekend and you train and the goal is, well, the first goal is in the sessions on Monday is to sort of put things to one side and refocus again. And take some time. The sessions are strategically placed because they give you an opportunity to reflect on things too. And some of the sessions we're doing are quite reflective. And today is going to be more of a reflective session. And as always, you can go back over it as and when you need to. And you've got the accompanying notes as well that I can send through to you if you need to as well. And some of the notes I've sent through to you on the program. Now, today, it consists of chapter 15. We're going to talk about proximity. So today is a reflective session and take a moment now to think. Again, as we do, it's important that we take a step off the treadmill, metaphorically speaking, and sort of reflect on things, reflect on what we are, reflect on where we want to go, reflect on how far we've come along, where we are in the context of where we want to be. And these are the things we sort of can reflect on, and we can look at ways that we can improve to get gains. Where can I improve 1% here, 1% there, 1% there? What are the areas I can improve on? They're things we need to think about as we start the week and keep improving. The goal is to keep improving. Every day we want to improve incrementally every day. We've talked about the many variables that make a successful footballer. One of the variables being the mental side of the game. Obviously, you've got the physical side of the game, you've got the tactical side of the game, you've got the technical side of the game. Here we address things from that point of view. Now, today I want to touch base on proximity and how important that is. Now, having been working with professional sports people for many, many years, and obviously I work in education as a lecturer as well, amongst other things. One of the things that I've noticed is your network is a network of the people that you associate with and represent who you are emotionally, intellectually, and financially, and that applies to sport as well. Now, if the people you train with are positive, you're more likely to be positive. That's what that means. If the people you train with are negative, you're more likely to be negative. Now, with you guys, it doesn't really apply in that sense because you're here, you're up in the morning. I've said before and I'll say it again, I admire the courage, the determination you've got to surround yourself amongst good people who want the same things as you. We know professional football is not an easy industry to break into because I don't know what the statistics are, but for every professional place there's many thousands. There's many thousands of people who dream to be a professional footballer around the world, if not millions. You guys aren't just dreaming because there are people in bed now sleeping, dreaming. You're doing it. And that, I think, is admiration, and that is a quality you're going to bring for whatever you do. However your career goes in the end, I have every confidence that you're going to bring these qualities wherever you go. Now, this is more like reinforced learning. To sort of give you an idea, one time, well, not one time, but when I worked directly in professional football, one of the things I used to tell, and I tell sometimes even my stable players now, I would always suggest they didn't participate, for example, in school football. This is an example. And people used to say to me, and it used to disappoint sometimes the school teachers, coaches at the school, and sometimes the parents would say, why did you suggest that my child doesn't play in the school? And I said, simple, because the level is not the level that is going to challenge. Now, I can't make decisions, and it's not from my place to say what people should and shouldn't do. And I'm only using this for an example for you guys to understand how proximity is important. And the reason I used to say that is, for one, they play in the school team. The other players, because these players are in the professional environment, club, they're gonna sort of try and push even more, and they could get an injury. Two, they're going to get no benefit. from that, because if you lower your standard, then you pick up bad habits. Okay, so it's great, it's commendable. They want to do well for the school, but they wanted to, fantastic, commendable. The coach in the school, they like to win the tournament, but as the coach of the club, I had to prioritize my players. And my players, the energy it takes to play for the school and what they could be doing different for me, my thoughts were, in the time they're playing for the school and training for the school, they can either rest, they can study, they can do other things, or they can train with players who are equally, if not better than them. Because if you train with players consistently that aren't as good, at least, than what you are, your standards drop. And this is a big deal. So if I want to learn to be a presenter, then I have to go around presenters who are good. And they might show me up in the beginning because the level is much higher, but I'm going to go to that level. If I want to be an academic, I need to sign up for the best university there is to do the course for me. And I'll go there, and it's going to be challenging, but I have to step up. So what I'm saying here, the same applies in sport, all for the balance. It's important we get a balance, we do things and enjoy ourselves. But the important point I'm making here, and the example I've used there, is that the people we surround ourselves consistently will have a big impact on us. And it's a little bit like the analogy I use. For example, we've all been in situations where we've talked to somebody, and after we've spoken to them, we feel this negative energy. We're in a good mood, we're optimistic. Then we speak to somebody, and you feel almost like hanging up the phone and negative after you've hung up the phone or the talk. And because we're on different paths sometimes, or maybe sometimes you've got people, for example, who they've got their own ideas of what they want to do in terms of their life, and it's a different life to what you want. Maybe they invite you to go out on the evening, and you have a big game on Sunday, and really, if you've got a game on Sunday, on Saturday you should be 10 o'clock, before 10, get some sleep, because you want to go out and hit the ground running. And you might say, well, I need to have a life too, and of course you do, and we all do, but the point I'm making here is, in professional sport, you have to go all out. It's all or nothing. You can't dip your toe in professional sport. And it's up to you as a professional to decide, will I give it 6 months? Will I give it a year? Will I give it 4 years? Will I give it 1 month? But whilst you're doing it, you need to go all out and have no regrets. And that's where we are in the game. There's no half measures. And there's many sacrifices that we make in pursuing professional sport, and there's no guarantees. As I said earlier, thousands of people want to win the medal, thousands want to be professional football, only one can do, and that's the chance we take. But I'd like to think that if we give it all our best and we become the best we can be, then it gives us peace in our own mind, and we can transfer the skills wherever you go. And that's the sort of key. And think about it, for example, sometimes you have a tough time in football, and you speak to someone, an athlete, and a few words of encouragement makes you feel better. Just a few words of encouragement, you just feel that much better, and it's a positive thing. That's all it takes. And this is the thing, really, and this is the important thing, and that's what I get my players to do, my stable of players that I have, and when I've been in teams, professional team, I say, okay, write a list of people they train and participate in sport during the week, and I get them to have a hard look at it, and a big realization. And going back to what I said earlier, the story, the time when a parent said, why did I suggest that his son didn't play in the school team, and use that time to do training with people who are at his level and above. I said, well, what effect are those players having on him? How are they challenging him? If he has to drop his performance level 30%, then he's got to bring it back up again. How is that helping his cause to be a professional footballer? because if you're playing in an environment where you're fast and you're strong all the time, you're head and shoulders above, it might be fun for you. And if you want to enjoy yourself and you want to be like, you know, the big I am of the school and great, and that's great, it's okay. But for the serious performer, it's the challenge. And I've said before, how we train is how we play. Some people might agree, some people disagree. I always tell it like it is. In this academy, with Tony over the years when we speak about an environment where we produce winners. Winners is what we aim to produce, not just winners in sport, in football, but winners in life, in the sense that you take the skills. You know, we've seen in the world we live in many challenges this past year. But the world has experienced challenges before. It's nothing new in the world. You know, touch wood, things are improving now. Great, you know, many positive things. But equally, in a year, maybe it's going to be another challenge, and 5 years, another challenge. And what I'm suggesting by that is that I encourage people not to look to encourage them to rise to the challenge, to be strong, to do the right things. You know, in life, in sport, it's the little things you do, and you list the people who've got a positive effect, people who have a positive effect on you as well. Okay, so, and you know, sometimes it's hard because people we've known, even from 5-year-old, we've known them, we're friends, and you know, we love them dearly, but then they have a different goal in mind. And they say to you, well, you know, it's Saturday, let's go, you know, this is open, we'll go here, or this is there, and you've got a game. Now, I'm not suggesting that we leave these people behind, never forget where you come from. But if someone truly wants the best for you, they can appreciate. A true fan will say to you, you've got a big game tomorrow, you want to be a professional footballer, you know, hydrate yourself, eat well, and have a good rest, and go out there. And after the game, maybe we'll go to, you know, watch a film, or go for a stroll, or go to the beach, or go, if there's a bar to have a, you know, some relaxation downtime. But a true friend who wants the best for you will respect the fact that you are doing the best you can to be a professional footballer. I'll see that, and that's the important thing. You know, the true people you'll see, and that's the key. And I've been in the game for long enough to know that when you're on the rise, there's plenty of people everywhere. From the woodwork. You know, for some of you who are doing very well and will continue to do well, I can assure you now, there's people that will turn up everywhere and sort of, you know, want to be a friend, and you've got to be careful of these distractions. Okay, these distractions can have a negative effect, because these are the people who are there because they want to be around the aspiring footballer or sports person. And these are the you know, can be a negative impact on you, because when you should be training, eating well, sleeping well, this is a big impact. And I said before, this is in this game, you've got to go all out. And that's what I say. That's what I said to the athletes all the time. What's having a negative impact? Positive impact. You know, proximity and minimizing the time we spend and train with people who have a negative effect on our life. Misery is always looking for a new breeding ground. People want to drain the energy. Some people complain, they moan, and they'll even tell you where they think you can and can't play. You know, I've had some of my players, people tell them who haven't even played the game at a high level, have no desire to want to play at a level of work in the game, and they'll have an opinion. And I always say to the players, when you take an opinion on board, make sure you carefully examine where the opinion is coming from. Who is this person? To say, what's their agenda? You know, that's the key, because you have to be careful, because sometimes there are people in front of your face, they'll say one thing, but when they go in closed doors, they'll say something else. So if you've got an injury, an ankle injury, and you miss a big game, There'll be people who say, oh, I'm really sad to hear that. But when they go inside the house, they'll be doing a fist pump in the air for joy. Great. And they exist. They're out there. And maybe you give good news, you scored a hat trick, and in front of you they'll say, yes, you know, good. But then underneath it all, they'll walk away thinking, damn. You know, it's like when you see him in the sideline. I've seen it. People say to me in the game, you know, I'm an observer when I sort of on the touchline of the game, and I look around and think, and you see people, and I've seen it even surprisingly in the same team. They're supposed to be in the team on the bench if a player's being left out. When the player gets left out, and rather than celebrate the goal, you can see, you know, the frustration. I'm all for frustration if you don't get in the team, but it's really important that it's done in the right way. You prove your point. There was a player one time in a team I was working at, you know, and sometimes I take players into my wing to do extra physical training, mental training as well to one side. And he was complaining that the coach left him out. The manager left him out. And I said, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to moan about it? Are you going to work harder? Are you going to step up? Well, I should be playing, he said. I said, well, if you should be playing, prove it. Prove it by training hard. Prove it by giving it your all. If you disagree with the decision, then, okay, you speak to the manager and knock on the door and say, okay, can we have a conversation? But don't be the sort of person that wishes bad on the person who took the spot. You know, don't be the sort of person who celebrates if other team score. You know, for example, if you're a keeper and you've been left out and they choose another keeper and the keeper makes a mistake, don't be the sort of keeper that thinks, oh, great, see, he should have picked me, or the striker does that. That's not the right way. It's not a good energy for me. And I know the lads in this team aren't them lads because, you know, you're playing in the environment. I'm just saying that I know some of you play for other teams too. And the great thing about this academy is it brings players like you guys from different teams. And this is a level of this academy, guys, because, you know, the staff led by Tony, it doesn't matter if you come from no team at all, or if you've come down from an A-League team to train extra, you're seen in the same way. It's a leveler. And it's been proven by players who've gone on. They haven't always been the players who, you know, players have gone on and they haven't always been the players that people thought that's the one that's going to make it. Surprises. Life will surprise you. And there are people you'll hear, guys, that will call you when things are going well. Okay, when things are going well, you know, you've got a trial coming up somewhere, for example. You're playing well, things are good, and then you'll hear from them. You know, and that's important. You've got good people around you. Good people around you. It's really important, you know, that you've got good people around you. It's really, really important because the danger is that, you know, you're young and sometimes you don't know. You know, when you're older, you have experience and you see these things. That's not undermining you for being young. It's just when you've been around sport for as long as we have and the coaches have and I have, you start to learn a few things here and there along the way. I've seen it before. I've seen people, they get in touch with players and if you're not 100% focused on what you're doing, it becomes a problem because they're 1% down. You've got to keep on top of it. You know, it's like, for example, you know, some of the lads, they go on and they go to other teams and you know, they got people like Tony around them to keep a lid on things, to keep the feet on the ground because you have to keep going. We celebrate success, but it's really important that we keep our feet on the ground at all times because we're only as good as our next game. So some people, guys, they don't have the initiative to train hard and get the best out of themselves. They've even lost the passion for the game. One time when I was working in a professional team, There was a lad who'd been released from one of the biggest clubs in the country, if not the world, and he came along to train with our team. And I said to him one time, I said, for me, with your attitude, it's not good for you to be around some of the younger players. And he looked at me and says, who do you think you are telling me I've played for the biggest team? I said, I don't care who you used to play for. Who do you play for now? That's the important thing. Who do you play for now? Now you're looking to play for our team. And the way you rub off on the players, for me, is not good. Because they need to be encouraged. They need to be told. They don't need someone to sort of, if they make a mistake, to be slagged off. They don't need someone to stifle them. Your anger because you're not playing for the team that you aspired to play for, you're very talented, you had all the ability in the world, maybe it was an injury, maybe it was loss of form, loss of passion, and that was it. And that was it. There's nothing personal. It didn't come back training. Whether it was down to me or whatever, nothing personal, nothing like that. It's just I have to look after my players and I have to make sure they got the best chance mentally. And one person like that who is bringing them back when I'm trying to make sure they can run 20 meters in the 3 seconds, do 12 minutes do 3,500 meters in 12 minutes to roll their sleeves and play. That's an important thing for me, and that's the important thing. People live on yesterday, and you have to be careful. Sometimes I say to you, you can't do something, and that's, you got to be really awake to these things. And you spend time with people who've got a positive impact on your life. Associate with people who are looking to train hard or similar aspirations than you, which you are doing, which you do, in this group. It's a great energy in the group, fantastic energy, fantastic vibe, but we got to keep it that way because we know there's going to be battles ahead. We know there are people watching what we do. I know that, I'm not naive. They watch. We know there are people out there that, see us and they want to outdo us. They don't say it openly, but I know. We know when we see a player doing well in Europe or in the A-League that's from the academy, we know people look at that. Some of them are positive and great, but we know there are outside people who resent that too. And when you make it, if you make it wherever you go, they may resent you for doing that. Some of the outside people that watch, because when you're successful, people want to knock you down. But that's what we're here to protect you from that, to make sure you don't have to focus on that. And we don't focus on that. We focus on going forward. That's the key to it all. There are people out there. The best way to answer the haters in the world is on the pitch. That's the way to do it. That's the way it is, but you don't have to answer them anyway. Because if they want to be that way, it's their loss. They're the ones who get eaten up inside and worrying about what you're doing. And so being aware of that and sort of getting around people, learning off people. If you meet other pros, professionals, and you speak to them, you learn and take a few ideas from them as well. So get ideas from them about training and think, what do you do? And always sort of picking their mind and what are they doing? And it's really important to get the balance, by the way, too. I don't want to say that all you do is just become obsessed, because what we're going to cover next week is talk about balance, how it's important to spend time with family, with friends. It becomes more difficult the higher up you go in the game, because sometimes you've got to move to a different state, a different suburb, a different country, and this comes with sacrifices. And I always tell people, if you move to a different country, embrace the culture, meet the locals, to really embrace it, learn the language. These are really important things to do for me. Immerse yourself in and enjoy the whole thing. Learn about the history of the country, learn about all these things. It's important things to do. But everything is a sacrifice in life. We make sacrifices, and the higher up you go, these things can happen, because then you go to I've known players, they move to one place, they make friends, and then they got to move somewhere else. And even the kids, they go to a school, they're settled in, and they got to go to a new team. That's the life of a professional. That's just the way it is. And these are the things that, we can sort of teach you and you prepare should you go on to that level. But we also make sure that we prepare you for whatever level you go. And you make the effort to meet people as well, have a positive effect. Of course, of course I'm saying there's going to be teammates who have bad times. I'm not saying, if a player, if your teammate says to you, I'm really struggling, to say, no, you're negative, go away. Of course, we're there for them. We pick them up. And we encourage them. It's like when I've worked in professional sport directly, my door is always open. My door is always open for my stable of players. Knock at the door. If I can help them, I will. If not, I'll do my best to signpost them where they need to go. Sometimes someone has an adverse event. Maybe they need to go someone and see someone. It could be a mental health thing. They're down. They need to go see a clinician. It's not a performance thing. And we look out for people. If you see someone down, sad, upset, then we'll look out for our friends, our teammate. It could be that they need help with that, so that they can be open. And there are times we're going to do it tough. There are times in sport, I've been in situations working for team and we've lost 3 or 4 in a row. And all of a sudden you start to think, a few questions and people say a few things, but you've got to keep sticking to the process. That's the key to it. And you're going to have special bonds, guys, with each other. You're going to have special bonds. Teammates, the friends you make in this game, there's not going to be, some people will disagree and that's okay. But in my opinion, the friends you make in the game are a different type of friend because you share so many moments together. It's a little bit different. It's a bond, and I see it. Some of the people I've worked with in football, and they were in different teams, and they become friends, like on LinkedIn and the other social media platforms. They stay friends, and you can see even though they don't see each other for 10 years, there's a special bond. Because it was a big impact in their life, So the guys around you now, okay, now you're young, but in 10 years, I can guarantee you'll still be in touch in some way, in 20 years, and it'll be a different sort of bond you've got with them because you've seen highs together, you've seen lows together. There's been times that you've been in the same team and you've been criticized, and there's been times you're in the team and you feel like the whole world is against the team, against, us as performers. And that's a sort of, big thing. But the point being is, I always encourage, and this is not just in sport, in football teams, this is also in other areas of life. This is in when I lecture. This is when I sort of consult even businesses. It amazes me how people sometimes will moan to other people who can't do anything for them. Now, I'm all for offloading and talking to people, but there's a time and place. So, for example, they'll go into training and they'll moan about not being selected. Then they'll complain to the partner, they'll complain to everybody, and they'll even complain to people who have no knowledge about the game. And that can be a detrimental thing because sometimes you've got confirmation bias. What I mean by that, what that means, people will see if you complain to your family, to the parents that you're not being picked for the game, there's a very good chance your parents are going to say you should be picked. Now, I'm not saying they're doing the wrong thing. I'm a parent too. We're loyal to our children, but sometimes it can be detrimental because the coach is seeing what he or she sees in training to make the decision. And it's not helping you to be told you're doing everything good if you're not. To get the opinion, but this is what I see a lot. So the idea is you got to go, if you want to improve your fitness, you go to the fitness coach. You want to improve your tactic, you go to the tactical coach. You want to improve your mental skills, you go to people like myself. So going to people who have that remit is the key. It's like, for example, if someone wasn't feeling well, you'd recommend they go to the GP. You wouldn't diagnose, and that's the idea. Sometimes you're not doing someone a favor. So when I mentioned earlier before about the player complaining to me he wasn't in the team, if I listened to him go on and on all the time and told him what he wanted to hear, then he might have thought, yeah, I can talk to Jim, great, about these things. But I told him I needed to hear. And what he needed to hear was, if you don't agree with your selection, it's done in the right way. And you knock on the door of the coach or the manager and you can speak about it, and you train harder and you keep going. Because in a team, our success depends on everyone. Our success depends on every one of you guys. Every one of you guys, we're a team. Okay? It's like a chain. You cut a piece of the chain, it just falls. We're a team effort. It's like if you break a spoke on a tire, on a wheel, okay? We're a well-oiled machine. We have to work together. It's no good if you sort of, have players going in different direction for the focus and the harmony of the team. So, it's always about going to the person who can sort of help you to the best of their ability. Because if someone isn't happy in the situation they're in, they need to do something about it. And you've got to be wary of being dragged in. So when you go to the club and someone says, okay, I don't know why I'm not playing, or this, that, and the other. And if you look at the top players, to perform at the highest level all the time, they need a clear mind. A really clear mind. If you get dragged in, emotionally dragged in yourself in these situations, then you're going to lose your focus. And we need to make sure that every millimeter, every ounce we can improve and be the best we can be. That's the sort of key. So the player that comes to you and thinks, you know what, I'm going to complain about the team, I'm going to complain about this, and you're not doing them any favors as well by, having these little network groups in teams that you see sometimes. And we've seen plenty of teams. And look, this is not unique to different teams. We see it at the highest level. I've seen teams at the very highest level, players, best players you can ever imagine, they underperform even slightly and the team drifts away. Then you see a new manager, new coach, same players, same system, same training even. It's just a different mindset and they start to win again. It's incredible. So the idea is to not go there in the first place, which is the key, going forward. So today, the session is a reflective session. Next week, we go back to practical techniques. And I said, some of the techniques I cover, they may not be a technique for you. Some are processes that we cover along the way. Like all these things, you find what works for you to help you. That's the whole idea of sort of mental skills. The whole idea for me is to ensure that, from a psychological point of view, performance point of view, that we're as close as we can be to on it all the time. We can get our game head all the time. We can keep going. So then you can go out there, train, get to the levels you need physically, guys, get to the tactical levels you need, get to the technical levels you need, then mentally compete, mentally, okay? You'll see there's an interview I did, I'm doing pre-records at the moment on the radio, a really great guy. The next session, you'll see it'll be out on Friday. Tom, his name is I'm going to give him a plug, Tom, because he's a great guy. I've interviewed him. He's worked for many professional teams. He works for himself now. I'm going to give Tom a plug because he done a really good book too, as well. Tom Bates, you'll hear the radio show on Friday. He's worked, for Brentford, for Villa, now he works for himself. And you'll hear in the conversation, really interesting in the sort of conversation. He talks about the importance of the psychological side of the game. And it's really interesting how he talks about how when he first started doing this sort of work in the game, the psychological stuff in the game, it was new. But now it's a given. So he's like one of the pioneers. And I told him, and you'll hear in the interview, one time, I said to Tom, I said, Tom, I was at a conference one time and I was really interested what, Brentford were doing, because I saw some of the Brentford coaches and they had this sort of vibe. And I thought, wow, look at this team. In my opinion, they're punching above their weight. It's interesting what they've done. But I spoke to the coach. I said, Tom, the coaches seem really, really positive, really, it was a really, really great atmosphere. And he told me a little bit about that in the interview. And the reason I mention that, guys, is that for me, that's the sort of thing we want to create at the Academy, and for you guys, that sort of energy, to get on the front foot, today's training, put the weekend behind you, go all out and set ourselves up nicely, guys, for the game, the next game coming up. And let's try and every game that comes up, see if we can raise the bar and do the best performance. Make every game, make the next game that you're playing in the best game you've played. So as always, you've got my contact details. You want to drop me an email, anything, any sort of questions, I'm there to sort of help you to the best of my ability. It's been, a great session this morning, a reflective session. Hopefully you take a few of these things on board and what's right for you. So have a great session, guys, with the coaches. Give it 100%. You've got some great coaches, great staff. It's a great academy. And we go again next week, guys. Thank you. Thanks, guys.